All right, friends, welcome back to our online study in the book of Hebrews. Hope that you're growing from this. And as I said last time, just keep in mind, book of Hebrews is tough. That's what the emails are for and the videos are for. But what we're going to see today is some encouragement to stick with it. Now, it doesn't start with encouragement. In fact, it starts in a little bit of a discouraging way. So what I want to look at from our reading today is the beginning and the end. I'm actually going to read parts of it today because I think it's important, even if you've already read it, for you to hear it right before I hopefully shed a little bit of light on what's going on here. Verse 11, chapter 5. About this we have much to say, and it's hard to explain. It would be hard to explain anyway, but it's certainly hard to explain since you have become dull of hearing. Now, to be clear, that the author didn't say it would be hard no matter what. That's just my impression. This is tough stuff, but made harder because the author says to those he's speaking to, you've become dull of hearing. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you ought to be teaching these things. A teacher has to have a degree of understanding and maturity and all those things. Though you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you. And we all need teachers, but you don't need anyone to teach you just the harder. You need someone to teach you again the basics of the oracles of God. You need milk, not solid food. What's he saying to the people if they need milk, not solid food? Who needs milk? Infants need milk. For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he's a child. But solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. Part of what it means to be mature is to be able to distinguish good from evil. He's saying to the people, look. By this point, you ought to be more mature in the faith than you are. We don't know all the details of what exactly would lead him to say this and all those things, but that's not even what's most important here, at least for the way that I'm thinking through it today. What's important here in the way that I'm thinking through it today is just the realization that, it seems basic, simple, but that our faith is something that we should be growing in, that we should be maturing in. Yeah, grace is free. We cannot get away from that. We have to remember that. Grace is free. But the good gift of grace is something that God gives us to grow us up in the faith. Salvation is a free gift, but part of what God wants to do is to grow us and to mature us. These things, they're hard to understand. But we've talked about this in Cornerstone before, but just because something doesn't make sense to us doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense. Think about if you had a medical procedure, maybe you had a stent put in your heart, or a stent put in the heart of somebody that you love. Think about the doctor who performed that. That doctor at some point was an 8th grader sitting in biology class, and they did not understand the way the human heart worked. They might have even said, it doesn't make sense. Thanks be to God that would-be doctor stuck with it. It began to understand more and more how the human body, and specifically how the human heart works. And at some point, through a lot of study, through a lot of maturing in their understanding of anatomy, the human heart began to make sense to them. Just because it didn't make sense to them didn't mean it didn't make sense. They had to grow in their understanding of it. The faith is no different. We have to grow to mature in our understanding of it. Then you get to the end, that's the discouraging part. Here's the encouraging part. For though we speak in this way, yet in your case, beloved, we feel sure of better things that belong to salvation. For God is not unjust so as to overlook your work and the love that you have shown for his name in serving the saints, as you still do, like highlighting the good things going on here. And we desire each one of you to show the same earnestness, to have the full assurance of hope until the end. Go back and reflect on that verse, and then look at this. So that you may not be sluggish. Don't be sluggish, but be imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises. Faith and patience. How is it that we grow up? How is it that we mature? It's through faith and patience. Faith meaning trust, belief, to work that faith muscle of trusting God. And the only way to do that is through patience. How is it that you learn anatomy at that deep of a level? Well, it takes patience. It takes time. To grow in our faith, it takes patience. It takes time. But that steady commitment, we've talked about it before, but it's what Eugene Peterson refers to as the long obedience in the same direction. Take heart, friends, by reading through this, spending time with it, really reflecting on it, studying it. It may not make sense to you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. Spend time with it, processing through it, and just trusting that God will be growing you, maturing you in your faith. I have no idea where on the faith maturity spectrum you might be. Whether you're with the milk or the meat, I have no idea. But what I do know is that by participating in this, you're growing. What matters less is where we are right now. What matters is the direction that we're heading in. I've been at this for a while, this whole Jesus thing, and I still feel like God is growing me up, seeking to mature me in the faith. So let's keep doing that together. Keep with your reading. See you next time. God bless you, friends.